Hello boys and girls, and welcome to Eli's Movie Couch. So, it's that time of year again. So, this month, we're going to be doing something really scary. We're going to be watching Stephen King's It. Okay, so maybe it's not that scary, but if you're like me and you consider bad writing, direction, and acting to be scary, then this movie is honestly one of the most terrifying out there. Now, I know that it's a made-for-TV event and that it's technically a miniseries, but still, it takes longer to get its point across than Avengers Endgame. And one of these movies is the climactic conclusion to a vast cinematic universe spanning 12 years and 23 films, and the other is a story about a fucking clown. Yeah, scary, right? So, without any further ado, let the spooks begin. So, this movie opens with a scene of Pennywise murdering a little girl. Or at least, I think that's what happened. With how ambiguously this scene is filmed, honestly, anything could. So then, one by one, we're introduced to all the adult characters, the concurrent flashbacks of their childhood counterparts. And honestly, watching this part, it makes me wonder why there isn't a warning label or anything to inform you beforehand about how this fucking movie will severely deteriorate your mental functions, because Martin Scorsese's omelet, these flashback scenes are pure, uncut, 24-karat autism. In every single flashback scene, they try to do that thing where they bridge the two scenes with similar action or whatever to make it seem like there's some semblance of a parallel between the adults and the kids. But every time they do it, either the adult actors fucked up the take, or the action in question is just completely stupid and something that no one would ever actually do, and it pulls you right out of whatever immersion in the story you could have had, because the laziness of the writers, the director, and the actors becomes blatantly apparent, and your suspension of disbelief is completely shattered, and as if that's bad enough, any kind of suspense you could have had for the kids' story is also shattered because you see them as adults and you know they're not gonna die, and every time one of these flashback scenes comes in, the fucking clown-shaped tumor in my head grows even more. Ah! Now, bear in mind, we haven't even gotten into the actual movie yet. So, let's do that, shall we? So, for those of you who don't know and can't already tell, this movie is broken up into two big parts. The kid part and the adult part. The kid part is mostly shown through those fucking PTSD-inducing flashbacks, so I'm going to omit talking about them before my mental function collapses completely. So, as the kid part starts out, we're introduced to our colorful cast of characters, also known as the Losers Club. Every stereotype is here. You got portly kid, asthmatic kid, nerd, somewhat normal kid, girl, and even token black kid. So, one by one, the kids start to come together in a very close friendship while the clown makes himself known to each of them individually. Also, while this is happening, their overly stereotypical bullies start to attack each of them, which only further strengthens their bond. Now, hold up. Is there a single character in this movie that isn't a stereotype? I mean, I get that this was the 90s and, you know, Stephen King, but still, every single person in this movie is like a caricature. Abusive parent, overly protective parent, evil bully, Boy Scout, nice teacher, school cafeteria. I'm getting off track, aren't I? Anyways, so the kids start to realize that something really bad is happening in their fair city, and also that this clown dude keeps showing up everywhere. So naturally, they put two and two together and resolve to go out and kill the clown. By themselves. Without telling anybody about it. You know, don't you young, vulnerable children think that maybe telling fucking anyone about this might be a good idea? I mean, to be fair, there is a whole thing about blood and the adults not being able to see it and whatever, but that's barely even elaborated on, so I guess we're just gonna have to assume it makes total sense. So, the kids decide to go out and kill the clown. But first, they need to take logical preparations, like testing who can use a slingshot better, and getting solid silver chunks to fire from said slingshot, and filling up an inhaler with battery acid, and having everyone take a puff from it? What? So the kids set off to the sewer that they somehow know the clown lives in, fresh off of a puff of battery acid. Battery acid. And as they walk in, the bullies from earlier are lying in wait. So they go into the sewer and start heading to the part of the sewer that, again, they somehow know Pennywise lives in, when the bullies strike and start actually murdering a child in a sewer, when in the nick of time Pennywise comes and kills them all, except the kid they were trying to murder because he has special relevant to the plot powers that give him a protective shield during this part of the movie. So then he escapes and meets up with the other kids in the heart of this Chamber of Secrets Maze Runner looking ass sewer, and boss music starts playing. So then the kids get in a circle and hold hands, which they somehow knew would work. And then this kid sprays him with battery acid, which he somehow knew would work. And they shoot him with a chunk of silver from a slingshot, which they somehow knew would work.
You starting to notice a trend here?
So then the clown goes down the drain pipe in a VFX shot that looks absolutely horrible even by lower budget 1990s film industry standards. And so the kids leave the sewer triumphantly and vow to return should the clown not be dead.
So in case you couldn't already tell, this movie brings up a lot of questions that it just doesn't even bother to answer.
In pretty much every scene, at least one thing leaves you scratching your head to, what the fuck? Why did Pennywise not kill this kid here? How did this kid get the silver chunks? How did this kid get solid silver chunks? Now, I know that the book is a bit of a thickie, but damn, even in the 3 hours of movie that they had, they still managed to leave just so much shit completely unexplained. And I haven't even gotten to the performances yet. I'm gonna get started. Every single line of dialogue in this movie sounds completely unrealistic and awkward. Whether it be the delivery or the line itself, there isn't a single interaction in this movie that actually feels like something someone would actually say. Now, the reason I bring this up now is because in the kid part, it actually kinda works.
You see, kids are stupid. Like, they're really fucking stupid.
So, hearing children, especially ones that have been established as introverts and losers, have interactions that are stilted, awkward, and unrealistic actually makes a bit of sense.
Hearing functioning adults with families and careers having these interactions makes a lot less sense.
And it goes from a mild issue that actually contributes to the characters in a way to a glaring problem that makes the whole rest of the film absolutely unbearable. Are you tired of having JPEGs that aren't crusty? Or are you tired of your pictures looking smooth and not being able to count every single picture? And come on down to Eli's JPEG Crustifier, where we got JPEGs and we crust them up. Don't ask how, that's an industry secret, but we do it, and we do it for real cheap.
Hello boys and girls, and welcome back to Eli's Movie Couch. So, when we left off last time, we had just finished part 1 of Stephen King's It. But if you think the spooks stop there, oh boy would you be wrong.
So, like 30 years or something after the initial incident, Token Black Kid, who's now Token Black Man, realizes that the clown has returned. So he calls up all his old buddies and is like, hey, we need you to come help stop the clown. And then one by one they all come back to their old hometown. Except for this guy, but we'll get to that later. So one by one, while they're on their own, Pennywise comes out and gives them a big spook.
Now bear in mind, when I say spook, I mean it in the most academic sense.
Because unless you have an intense phobia of clowns and or Tim Curry, Pennywise just plain isn't scary. And it kinda makes you feel bad, because you can tell Tim Curry was really trying his hardest, and the filmmakers just gave him nothing to work with.
I mean, he acts like a clown, which just straight up isn't scary on its own.
Like in this graveyard scene where he isn't scary, or this library scene where he isn't scary, or this scene at Bev's old house where he isn't scary. Like, yeah, they're creepy, but a character isn't scary just because they're a clown. So the whole gang gets back together and meets up in a Chinese restaurant to catch up. So there they are, sitting and chatting like old friends do, when all of a sudden Pennywise attacks the fortune cookies?
Ah yes, the scariest food item.
Now, I will admit, this scene was actually a little scary. But still, being that this is the first time the movie has actually managed to scare me in any capacity, it isn't exactly a very good sign. Just saying. So the gang retreats to Token Black Guy's office at the library, where they immediately start acting like they didn't just see an actual eyeball coming out of a fortune cookie. when they get a call from someone who informs them that this guy committed suicide. And then Pennywise makes him known again in a scene that serves as a reminder that I can, in fact, take this movie less seriously than I already had been.
Wheezy, how's your sex life? What's your sex life? All float. They all float.
So then Richie starts being all like, oh, I don't like this, I want to go home. But then the rest of the gang peer pressures him into sticking around.
Oh, come on, Richie. We've all seen the PSAs. You should know better, really.
In the meanwhile, Henry Bowers is in a prison? Mental hospital? I mean, I'm pretty sure this is supposed to be a prison, but it just kind of looks like a hallway. So Pennywise makes himself known by, turning himself into the moon. And this precedes a scene that is so funny, every single human is required to see it at least once before they die. So the whole gang is chilling out at a hotel preparing for battle when Crazy Bowers shows up and, is crazy. Then he kills Token Black Guy and the remaining 5 decide to go to the sewer to finish the clown off once and for all. Once in, however, Bill realizes that his wife had been captured by Pennywise and panics, running into the sewer blindly. And it doesn't exactly take Sherlock Holmes to tell you why running in a sewer is a bad idea. So eventually they finally manage to make it back to the part of the sewer they came to as kids. And if I'm starting to sound a little dead inside here, it's because we're getting close to the ending. So they discover a little nook in the wall surrounded by a bunch of skulls. So of course they crawl right in where they meet the real form of Pennywise, and it's a giant spider demon. It's a giant spider demon. Spent 3 hours building up to just a giant fucking spider demon.
Just a little bit more movie, Eli. You can do this. You can do this. Okay.
So they attack the monster with slingshot, and surprise, surprise, bringing a slingshot was in fact not a good idea. So Asmo remembered when he hurt the monster with his battery acid inhaler. So he walks up all badass and fucking sprays it with the acid, and it just kills him. Cause why not? So then they shoot some silver into its soft spot and it starts to limp away, injured and dying. And then, when the group looks on the poor, helpless spider creature, they felt great pity. So they brutally ripped it fucking apart and jammed its legs back into itself. So then, Bill reunites with his incidental wife character. Ben and Bev run away together. Richie does, whatever this is. And hey look, Token Black Guy is alive after all.
What a good ending. If you suck! So, how am we done here? I mean, it's Halloween. I want to go out, I want to enjoy my Halloween. So I'm going to stop torturing myself with these horrible freaking movies. See, now it's time to just curl up with a nice glass of apple cider and reflect on the fact that, despite how horrible these movies are, it's still one of the best times of the year. So, until next time, this has been Eli's Movie Couch, and I will see you later.